Alright lads and lasses, and welcome to DTS, or Discussing the Socials. Today's video takes us over to Instagram, where we're looking at a post by Quotable Myth. Feel free to check out their page. I'll try and leave a link down below, but please be warned that YouTube, as of right now, will not let me leave links. They will let me post the link, but it won't automatically link to whatever it is, so you will have to copy and paste it if you want to view this yourself. I'll try and get it sorted out in a few videos time, but obviously if I can't, then this is how it's going to have to go going forward. The post reads, 7 secrets about boys girls don't know. Now this reads like a fact and assumption kind of deal. They give you the number of the assumption, then they give you what the actual fact is. And I wanted to kind of talk through in a relaxed format whether I agree with it or not, and kind of what differences I would make, or whether I completely agree and why I agree with it. If you do enjoy this type of content, leave a like and subscribe and all of that down below. I'd really appreciate it if you could. Leave a comment yourself on your opinions on the video, or whether or not you want to see something else going forward, and what you would actually like to see me talk about on this series, because I've got plenty of saved posts, but if there's something in particular that gauges your interest, I want to kind of have a look into that and give you kind of my 10 pence worth of opinion. Anyway, we're going to start with number 1. The assumption: every boy likes to smoke and drink. The fact: 70% of them don't. Now, I can't look at this statistic and just base it purely on my own opinion, because look, we're looking at one guy as opposed to what I assume is a survey result based on possibly 100,000 people. In my experience, I do like a drink. I really do like a drink, but not all the time. That's the caveat, because it doesn't specify in there whether it says all the time or whether it is just if and when required. The same thing with smoking. I have never smoked anything in my life. I have been very tempted, but I never have. So again, the fact is ambiguous in that sense of it could be right or wrong. I'm going to assume that it's right based on the fact that I know a lot of people who do smoke and drink on a very regular basis, and I can't see it being just something like for mental health reasons or addictions. I think it is genuinely something that people use for recreational purposes, i.e. enjoyment, and I can't see it being anything else really. But as I say, in my opinion, I do enjoy a drink. I do enjoy the social element of it. I enjoy the escapism that it gives us to an extent, and that's why I enjoy what I have, basically, in terms of smoking and drinking. Number 2, the assumption is boys never cry. The fact: every boy cries silently for love, career and family issues. Now that was cry, not pray, because we're not fuckwits and we're not well, I don't know where I was going with that, so we'll ignore that and abandon that pathway before it goes down some really dark hole and ends up at the end with a Nazi joke. We do kind of, we do never cry as a sense, as a species. We don't cry publicly, at least. I haven't actually done so properly, and when I say more than a little bit of a tear jerk, you know what I mean, more than one tear, I don't think I've done that in a number of years, and that's because I've had to harden up. And I don't mean in terms of I've had to because I didn't have the support system, but rather because for a number of years, I've suffered with mental health since I was 12 years old. Well, 11 actually, but 12 years old was when it really went wrong, as you all know if you've watched my videos before. But I've kind of had to harden up over that time because I didn't have an outlet that I trusted completely. And so I think it's the same for a lot of guys, where we kind of have that extended period where we don't feel like we can trust anyone. And then even trusted figures, I've got my dad now who I completely trust 100%. But there's certain things even he will never get to know about me. And nor should that. I think the wider point being we do cry, but we have to try and find a way that's manageable for us. In my experience, because I've had to harden up at such a young age, I tend to lash out in anger rather than cry or anything like that. I do have breakdowns, but they're usually if I do ever have one, it takes a lot. If I do ever have one, it's more stress related. It's not I'm going to burst into tears. It's kind of I'm just going to get like really sad and like kind of silent, and that's kind of how I deal with things. But no, boys do cry, so the fact is technically correct. Number 3, boys can do anything. The fact, boys have more responsibility than freedom. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. And the reason why I don't is because you technically see a lot online, a lot of boys who are completely devoid of any responsibility whatsoever, and I do think that's partially down to how they were raised. I certainly see it more in the younger generation. I sound like a right old bastard saying that, but I do find it more with the kids who are probably a little bit younger than me, or maybe even around a similar age. You say that responsibilities kind of isn't a thing, and I do kind of want to say that a lot of the responsibility is kind of self-inhibited. Getting someone pregnant, for example, at a young age, that's a responsibility that should not happen naturally or realistically, but has because we were stupid. But as a general fact, I don't think we have more freedom. We do have more responsibility than women to a large extent, because we have to kind of be perceived as breadwinners and stuff like that. That's in a traditional bringing, but I understand now it's very, very different. So these days, I think it's about equal on that scale. And I think, yeah, we do have freedom, but we certainly don't have more or less than our responsibilities. I think for most men it's kind of equal in that regard, albeit that does change when you get a lot older, when you have kids. That kind of imbalances it a lot. Number 4, boys always fight with friends. Fact, boys who fight are people who stay at a difficult time. 100% agree. I've had so many arguments with the lads that I went to college with and various friends throughout my life. Now, a lot of them have now since either gone or I've cut them out for various different reasons. Massive misjudgment on my part with the lads from college, because they were people who cared for me and I cared for them. But it was more so I had to step away for my own mental health reasons. So I hope that kind of, if they do say this, they can at least acknowledge the fact that I didn't leave just for no fucking reason. But we do tend to fight with each other because we keep it real. You know, you see so many girl relationships, and I'm not trying to generalize, but there's a lot of them now where even in really bad wrongdoing situations, the girls are always supportive of girls. Boys, that never fucking happens. You know, there's very rare occasions, but if your mate is being a little bit arsey with someone, for example, you damn right I will intervene and I'll be like, mate, stop being a cock. You know what I mean? Like, that is kind of how boys are. We hold our friends accountable, basically. We try and make sure that they're in the best possible mindset and best possible position through trying to protect them realistically from making themselves out to be a prat or getting themselves in a really bad situation that we can see developing because we're not clouded by whatever the fuck that they're on. But yes, we do tend to stay loyal to our friends to an extent, but we also, again, have to be respectful and have to be realistic with where we set the boundaries, and that is why men relationships last 30, 40, 50 years, generally speaking, especially those with your very close friends. Number 5, boys are toxic and aggressive. Fact, most guys are sweet and soft, just don't know how to express it. Again, yes, 100%. Again, for me personally, like, I show a very hard exterior sometimes, but once you actually get to know us, it's kind of like, it's nice in a way because I relax, and therefore you get the real version of myself. And I think it's the same for a lot of men. You know, we tend not to trust people as easily anymore. Me especially, again, because of my previous aforementioned mental health issues. But yeah, we tend not to trust people, but once you get past that barrier, you know, we become into our own, and we kind of become different people altogether. We're soft, we're gentle with people, we're kind and courteous. But once you break that trust, again, we go back to being cold, we go back to being toxic and aggressive, so to speak. More so aggressive because toxic, whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean in this modern fucking world, I have no idea. Number 6, being a boy is easy. Fact, smiling with 100 problems isn't easy. Agree. Now, I'm not going to come out here and be like, oh, we're complete victims. We're not. You know, we're fairly culpable for our own actions, I think. And we, by far, have caused more issues with our own actions than we have through the society's fucking rights and wrongs. But it's not easy. It's not, because you get vilified from every angle possible. You're always assumed to be the bad in the situation, especially between men and women. Men and men, generally it's whoever's responsible gets blamed for it, but men and women, you find more and more it's going to be women getting sided with, both from a legal standpoint and from a friendship standpoint. You do find that a lot. We have a lot more problems than even meets the eye. A lot of the time, my mental health issues I can hide extremely well. I mean, even doing this video now, like, if my mind even strays for 1 second, I'll be fucking depressed probably. But we hold it in quite well and we manage to get through it. But it's not easy at all. Some days it can be, but not always. Not a chance. Finally, number 7. Boys are playboys. Fact, many loyal ones get friend-zoned. Yeah, again, now this is more of a societal thing that's been developed over a number of years now, with the introduction of like OnlyFans and stuff, and body count kind of being disoriented in a weird sort of fucked up fashion. But yeah, so many loyal men get friend-zoned very early on. Now we do to an extent put ourselves there by being too friendly, but at the same time we wouldn't have to be that way had there been a opening for us to kind of express ourselves freely, if that makes sense. Because a lot of women, and again I don't want to fucking sound like this fucking sexist pig, but they do, they purposely try and put you in that box because they know that you're going to get the validation when you come back to them. And I've had friends that are like that. You know, they purposely don't contact you for 6 months, and then the minute they want a favour, they're all over you. And I've learned to kind of get rid of that now because I just won't respond to it. But, excuse me. Yeah, it's weird because to an extent, yes, we are put in our friend zone for being, you know, too nice and loyal. But a lot of boys now are becoming playboys. They're becoming sort of Andrew Tate regens and fucking basically being misogynistic and being an arsehole to women. Now I don't think is, speaking on Andrew Tate, but that's another video entirely. Because he does have a couple of very good points, but some very weak ones as well. But generally speaking, many in playboys, a lot of them are nowadays because of the society that we've bred, but as are women. So men are playboys and women are sluts these days, a lot of them are. But so many loyal ones in both camps get overlooked because they're either not attractive enough, because they have no excitement about them, which I think is just stupid. If you're going to go for someone, make sure it's someone that you love. The body count does matter to an extent, but just because someone's got no excitement about them doesn't mean that once you break through that outer shell, they're not going to be a fantastic person. And that's where I go back to earlier, where boys kind of are toxic and aggressive supposedly, but the fact being is we are actually soft on the inside. You just have to break through that shell. And I think women are exactly the same in a lot of ways. But that's where, again, I think the point is completely right, that loyal men do get overlooked because you're just a quick attention grab before you go on to, you know, whatever fucking playboy you actually want to go with. And that's why the perception exists, because you automatically go for people who are bad for you, but you overlook all of the men that you're friends with, or the few men that you're friends with, because, you know, are they too good? You make your rod for your own back, and that's why the assumption exists. Anyway, that is my opinion on the situation. That's my video done. So if you did enjoy, leave a like and subscribe, as I said in the intro. Again, let me know if there's anything you want us to cover exclusively. I'm more than happy to do political stuff. I'm more than happy to do like Bruce Unfiltered style videos, whatever you want to do. So that was today's video. As I said earlier, check out Quotable Myth. They are the source for this video, so thank you to them for providing this material. I'll try and put it up on screen, but if not, as I said, feel free to go and read it for yourself in conjunction with the video or just separately, and let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. But until next time, I will see you later, and goodbye for now.